This might be the biggest duel of the year. The Iowa Hawkeyes versus the Iowa State Cyclones. And in case you didn't know, these two teams do not like each other. And there's going to be a lot of emotion on both sides of the mat. On one hand, you have the Iowa State Cyclones who haven't beaten the Hawkeyes in 16 years. Their last victory coming in 2005. And they feel like this is the team to get the job done. And then on the other hand, you have the Iowa Hawkeyes who have a chip on their shoulder because 5 wrestlers were suspended due to NCAA gambling infractions.
No one's asking the question, why was the Department of Justice in the state of Iowa targeting Iowa State University and the University of Iowa? No one has asked that question.
So both teams have a lot on the line and a lot to wrestle for. And if you're a wrestling fan, you have to watch this match. I'm not a Penn State fan, but I watch basically every Penn State match because they're good at wrestling and I like watching wrestling. I'm not an Iowa fan, but I watch every Iowa match pretty much because they're good at wrestling and I like watching wrestling. So you don't have to be an Iowa fan or an Iowa State fan to watch this match. We always talk about growing the sport, and the best way to do that is watch wrestling. Be a fan of the sport. But enough of that talk, let's look into the crystal ball and see who's gonna win this match. Starting out at 125 pounds. And the duel starts out with a bang. This might be the match that determines the duel. And coming into the season, I easily would have picked Drake Ayala. But based on last weekend's performances with Drake Ayala getting beaten by Oregon State's Brandon Kaylor and Terrakina absolutely destroying Aaron Barnett of Wisconsin, it's given me some pause. One thing's pretty clear to me. If Drake wants to win this match, he's going to have to be much more aggressive and get to his attacks a lot more than what he did versus Oregon State. Because Terrakina is coming. He was firing his attacks versus Aaron Barnett. So Drake Ayala's got to be ready and get to his attacks. But in this match, I'm going to go with the hot hand. I'm picking Terrakina to get the win over Drake Ayala and start the duel out 3-0 for the Cyclones. So that moves us right into 133 pounds of Brody Teske versus Evan Frost. So we have the experience, the senior versus the newcomer. And last year, Brody Teske somewhat underwhelmed me. I expected a little bit more of him. But so far this year, he's looked pretty good. As well as Evan Frost has looked pretty tough. I haven't seen too much of him, and I'd like to see him against some higher level competition. But for this match, I'm going to go with the experience. I'm picking Brody Teske to even it up 3-3 after this match. The 141 pound matchup is very fascinating to me. I do think Echemendia could get a takedown or two on Real Woods. But if Real Woods gets on top, that's game over. So in my mind, this match goes one of two ways. Either Real Woods blows him out, major decision, tilts him up 3-4 times, or it's razor thin in either direction. It's worth noting that Echemendia is cutting quite a bit of weight, so we'll have to pay attention to see if a gas tank is an issue in this match. I'm going to go with Real Woods here, not only because he's a national finalist, but also ever since I listened to Spencer Lee talk about Real Woods as a training partner in the Clash of Combat podcast.
God, his hands are like as big as like Cassiopei's. He's got like big hands and he's so strong. He tilts like me. He's probably better than me at tilting, to be honest.
I really have a hard time picking against him. And the match at 149 pounds is pretty similar to 141 in the sense that Casey Swiderski has got to stay off bottom. Swiderski struggled on bottom in general last year, and Viktor Voinovic's best position is top. But being good on top for Voinovich is not going to be enough. Just like Drake Ayala, he is going to have to find some neutral offense. But I think Casey's neutral takedown game is going to be too much for Voinovich in this match because Casey could get ridden out the entire second period, give up a ride time point, and still win the match with 2 takedowns. And so I'm picking Casey here, and I'm actually going to pick him to get a major decision. We're 4 matches in, and if you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you waiting for? Don't you like wrestling? Listen, hit the subscribe button, and if at the end of the season you didn't enjoy my content, you can always unsubscribe then. At 157 pounds, Jared Franick versus Cody Chittum. I'm picking Jared Franick here, mostly because while Cody has looked the part early this year, he's still somewhat of an unknown. A couple years ago, when he was in high school, he was wrestling college matches and got some wins. He did lose to Josh Feinsilver 8-2, but again, that was 2 years ago. He's definitely physically matured and gotten better at wrestling. So it's almost a data point not worth mentioning. So like I said, I'm going with the known commodity in Jared Franick, but this match is going to tell us a lot about what we can expect from Cody Chittum this year. And that takes us right into the premier match of the duel with Mikey Caliendo versus David Carr. Now, I do think Mikey Caliendo can make huge jumps this year in his performance. And remember, last year, Mikey Caliendo only lost to 3 people. Keegan O'Toole, national champ, Shane Griffith, national champ, and Carson Harchla, very tough wrestler. But the problem is, he's wrestling David Carr, who I think is too positionally sound to lose this match. I like David Carr here to get the win over Mikey Caliendo. So that takes us to 174 pounds, where we have Gabe Arnold versus MJ Guyton. Both of these guys are pretty new to the college scene, so we're going to learn a lot here. And I think MJ, before all is said and done, is going to have a pretty solid college career. But I think in this situation, Gabe Arnold's speed and strength are going to be too much for him. In fact, I think this is potentially a bad matchup for MJ. Plus, Gabe is coming off a victory over number 9 ranked Travis Whitlake, so I'm going to go Gabe to get the decision here. Bonus points are always huge in every match, and they're going to be crucial in this one. At 184 pounds, it's really a question to me is if Brendan Swafford can keep Will Feldkamp from getting bonus points. I like Will Feldkamp to win this match. The question is, does he get a major or even a tech fall? I think he does push to a major, and that's 4 points for Iowa State. At 197 pounds, you have about as close of a toss-up as you can get. Think if these two guys wrestle 100 times, they probably split 50 and 50. I'm going to go with the new face in the lineup in Zach from Iowa to get the win over Broderson of Iowa State. But again, super close match, and this, just like 125, could decide the duel. But I'm going to say the Hawkeyes pull it off this time. And at 285 pounds, Younger Bastida versus Bradley Hill. Again, this one's about bonus points. Younger Bastida probably going to win this match. The question is, can he get a tech fall? Can he get a major? I like him to get a tech fall here. So that leaves us with a final score of 15 Iowa, 19 Iowa State. They split the matches 5-5, but because of those bonus points, Iowa State takes the victory. They break the streak, and everyone at Iowa State goes nuts. But I will point out there is a very clear path for Iowa to win this duel. If they pick off either 125 or 149, that flips the duel in the Hawkeyes' favor. So what did I get wrong? Let me know in the comments your predictions. Can't wait for this duel. Make sure you tune in and watch it. Oh yeah, and subscribe.